Welcome back, everyone. So you say you're in the market for a new home or an existing home. Well, there are plenty of opportunities to buy, but home prices are up. Unfortunately, interest rates are up as well. So the question is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Here to talk to us about that, a couple of local realtors. One politician as well, or city council member, Rob Ludeman. Public servant. Yes. That's right. That's right. Rob Ludeman of the Danbury Company. Good to see you, Rob. Thanks for coming in. And Brad Crown, the president of the Toledo Board of Realtors with Remax Central Group.
Yes.
Right? Got that right, Brad? Thanks to both of you for being here. Yeah, mixed messages, I guess. Home sales up again for like 21 consecutive months here in Ohio. Home prices up. So it all sounds good on that end. But on the downside, interest rates going up too. So where are we right now, Brad?
Well, we're in a market that certainly is mimicking a seller's market. The activity out there is more competitive, more multiple offer situations, that type of thing. So I don't know that I would call it a full-blown seller's market, but the conditions mimic that. And we don't know what's going to happen with the interest rates going up. We're not sure if that will hasten people to act now before they go up further, or will it put the brakes on and wait till they see if they fall back a little bit.
Yeah, Rob, they've gone up almost a full percentage point in the last couple of weeks.
Right.
So if people didn't act a couple of weeks ago, they're going to pay more in their house payment. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I'm glad Elaine and I refinanced a month ago when the rates were down. Because
what did you know? How did you know?
Looked at the crystal ball.
Crystal ball.
I remember the old days when in springtime the rates always went up because the market started to increase in the springtime. Markets leveled out over the years, so there's activity all the time. But I know at our company, Danbury, this May was so much better than last year's May overall in every market. But is it a buyer or seller's market? I think it depends on even little pockets of neighborhoods. What areas are selling faster? Waterside out in Monclova Township, there's hardly anything for sale there, so when it comes up, it's gone. There may be.
Is that more older folks, retirement community, or
it's a little bit of a bent, a lot of one-story homes and that type of thing. Yeah. So it depends on the area and the price range.
I want to read a quote from the Ohio Association of Realtors President Thomas Williams. He says, "The Ohio marketplace is steadily making tremendous progress in its effort to establish a solid foundation for a sustained growing housing sector." Would you call it tremendous progress, Brad?
I would probably say significant progress. It is definitely progress. I don't know that it's tremendous or overwhelming or anything like that, but it's good stuff. That's for sure.
What about Lucas County specifically? Because I think we're flagged as one of those counties that we got hit so hard.
We did. Yeah, manufacturing and such. I would say tremendous might be a good word when the bankruptcy, foreclosures, short sales are brought back to a minimum. But there's always going to be those in the market, but we've had so much of it in some areas. It's really devastated neighborhoods.
Starting to see them come back, though, a little bit. Rob, you and Brad, you guys are all over, right? You might go high-end out in western Lucas County, the Monclova area, down to Perrysburg, Sylvania Township, but back in the city of Toledo. How are we doing here?
We're doing better. And again, it's pockets of activity. There's parts of West Toledo and South Toledo that are going to take a long, long time to come back. A lot of those folks have... people have lost their homes, or they've had to resort to auctions, which have been very popular over the last few years for getting rid of properties that may be in an estate that you just can't sell. But the fact that we had not experienced a downward value in market like we had over the last few years, and so people who owe as much or more than what the house is worth, they're really in a tough spot.
The underwater label. Oh, and home prices are up as well, though, Brad. I think, 12% over year to year?
I think 10% at the end of May, 10%, and which is lagging the national numbers, but we usually do lag the national numbers, so that's... and to piggyback on what Rob said about the people losing equity and stuff, that's why we're seeing home buyers, existing home buyers, using FHA financing more than ever, because they might not have the equity in their existing home that they did before, so they don't have the 15 or 20% to put down.
The 80-20 ratio, is it, I mean, that's for a refinance, right? You need that, right?
But a lot of times FHA was always looked at as first-time home buyer financing, and now it's not. It's across the board. That's why when we were in Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago, we wanted to make sure that our law makers knew that don't mess around with FHA financing and try to revert it back to first-time home buyer only scenario, because they're using it across the board because they don't have the equity in their existing homes as they used to make the move to a new one.
It's interesting. I'm going to go ahead.
Well, one interesting part of this market, though, too, is I've seen more cash sales in real estate over the last couple of years, and I think a lot of that is because people were not getting return on their investments that had a good, position with cash and stocks or bonds or whatever, and they've taken it out, put it into housing, knowing that it is going to come back and they can make their money back.
And it has come back. Yeah. It's not great guns right now, but it is coming back. And lastly, I'll leave you with this. And you both mentioned perspective. I talked about interest rates going up 1 percentage point. You bought your first home at what, Brad Crown?
11.75%.
Okay. As I did. I think I was in that neighborhood. And Rob?
My first house was at 8.5%, but we bought our second house at 13%.
13%.
And we were very happy to get that because it was the lowest rate in town. First federal savings. Everybody else was 16 at the time.
Unbelievable. So here we are at 4.5%, 4.25%. Right?
4 3/8, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
yes.
wow.
That's great.
So it is, relatively speaking, a very good time to buy.
Good time to buy.
Right?
It's a good time to buy.
Thanks to both of you for being here.
Thank
Brad
you.
Crown, President of the Toledo Board of Realtors with RE/MAX Central Group, and Rob Ludeman from the Danbury Company. Rob's going to stick around. We're going to talk a little public service when we come back in just a minute.